This is East Tennessee Music Scene on the Rise. I'm Scott Thomas. We're talking to Autumn Reflection today. Alongside me is
Darth Nugget.
Haley Ball.
And we're here to talk to Autumn Reflection about their journey through the music industry here in East Tennessee and basically anything else they would like to speak of about music in their life. So, when did you start your musical journey?
Well, I was in band in grade school and stuff, so...
I bet you have some good band camp stories.
Yeah, I can't talk about them now. It's just one of those things. But
What happens in band camp stays in band camp?
pretty much, yeah, you don't want to know. And I don't want to rehash it. It's probably embarrassing. So it wasn't until, I got to, high school when I started playing guitar and bass. And actually, I played with Andy Wood in high school. He was much better than me, but it was cool, inspiration.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
So having someone that good right there jamming with you. So, and then I was like, I'm going to do rock music. Not really a big fan of, classical playing it at the time, so I'm going to get in a rock band. That's pretty much where it all kicked off. That was about 17 years ago or something like that.
Not that you're old or anything.
No, I mean, no.
Oh, no.
No, I'm not old. I'm 25. Here's flowers.
Wow, it's hard to follow.
Yeah.
I don't have any cool clarinet stories or anything really, but I started playing when I was about 12. Got my first guitar, and played off and on. I don't have any real cool band stories or anything, but played off and on, ever since. Moved to bass probably about 10 years ago. Me and this guy actually played in a band back in Sevierville, off and on. Majority of names. Did a little bit of that, and got the cool opportunity to start playing with these guys, man. And that's really when, it got really cool for me personally, and loved it ever since. Yeah. Take it away, man.
Go, Gunner. Go.
I just started drumming yesterday.
That's
No.
true.
Well, when I started when I was about 7 probably, and because my dad was the drummer of Strawberry Alarm Clock, I've always had, he had a drum kit in the garage, and I just hit things and everything, and I started really knowing that I wanted to do it about 7, and then I also had, band in high school through that, couple bands, some friends that I jammed with, and until I finally met Steve, I think at KT's. Is that where it was? The open mic?
Oh, that was a fun spot.
Yep. You meet a lot of musicians there. But I met him, and that was even before a majority of names, and we always wanted to jam together, and then just finally got an opportunity to
So I
do
think
it,
that's
and
where we all
everyone kinda
met.
came together.
To play with each other, yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to play with yourselves.
Indeed, Steve was playing with himself, and Jimmy Holster.
I use the term jamming.
We were all just
not playing.
not going to make that joke. Never mind.
Well, really, that's kind of where we probably all met Steve. He was jamming with another guy, Jimmy Holster, who's really known up there, and they were doing some acoustic sets, and I think it was their harmony contrasts and the song choices really kind of blew us away. We're like, man, that guy's super cool. I want to be like Steve.
You don't hear a lot of rock
Gonna make me
acoustic
blush.
in, Tennessee.
Yeah, right. Especially
It's
up
different, yeah.
there, in Pigeon Forge land. But
It's a lot of country over there.
that's right.
If you hear one rocker over there, it kind of sticks out.
So how long have you guys been playing together now?
Me and this guy, probably about 7 years coming up on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
About 7
I think
years.
something like that.
Chris and Mike are
We're
new
the
add-ons
newbies.
to the group,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, these guys are awesome. That they have definitely changed the whole game for us.
Kind of added a new dynamic to your sound.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, I mean, when we were working with them booking shows, I mean,
Yeah.
the Autumn Reflection was one of those bands that, you call up and be like, hey, we got this show, can you help us out, play? And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And always have a good attitude, and, no matter what goes on, and, if a bajillion people show up or not, everybody's, cool, easy to work with, and, of course it's a good band, obviously, so.
Of course.
it was, you know, they're
You're
really
not
easy to
biased
book.
or anything, you know.
No. But I mean, like even before that, you know, like the imprint days and stuff, and you know, I think I've always looked up to Autumn Reflection and being a good example in the scene, I guess would be a.
That was one of the questions I had is what do you think bands, fans, contributors to our local scene can do to make it more of a cohesive unit? I know you were booking shows, which is awesome. It's not an easy thing to do around here, for sure.
I think it's one of the most important things. Wouldn't you agree, Chris?
Yeah. You know, yeah, booking shows are tough, man. It's exhausting.
Very
It
tough.
is.
And, you know, especially where venues are hard to come by, it's like, you know, there's a lot of talent and you want to get it out there. That's the whole point, you know. But it's not always that easy, you know.
There's so many bands out there that want to go to the same places that we're trying to get to.
Yeah, right. But I think, you know, for bands out there trying to book shows, you know, having a good attitude and, you know, that goes a long way, you know, in my opinion.
Kind of rolling with the punches, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen both sides of the field, you know, and some are really good at that and some aren't, you know.
Yeah.
So, definitely, for sure. But, Steve, you never finished off saying how you got into music. I was curious about that.
That's a fun story. Now I started playing guitar when I was about 10. I had the choice to whether I wanted to play drums or guitar, and it was definitely a lot more expensive to pick up a drum set than it was to pick up a cheap little acoustic just to see if it's going to work out when you start. Because I mean, a lot of people will pick it up and. You know, that they either get the success side of it and that they show their improvements and they stick with it, or they pick it up and they drop it if it's not already working for them. So it was definitely a lot easier to pick up on guitar, and I loved it. I did nothing but I used to play a lot of Mario Brothers when I was a little kid on Nintendo, and as soon as I met guitar, like all of that was out the window. I had no interest in sports, nothing else. Like guitar just completely consumed me. And I did this thing where like I never actually wanted to play a whole song. I was so picky about there's only certain riffs that I like, and I had no attention span to actually play a whole song all the way through. I was just so attached to that 10 seconds of a song that just made the whole thing. So I did that for about 6 years, and I would just, play little riffs and play my favorite parts of songs. And then I started to adapt a little patience and the ability to start playing with others. I never really got into the high school band scene, but I always got into just jamming some rock stuff with, all the other guys that wanted to start something outside of the school band project. And that kind of took me all over the place. Grew up in Indiana playing guitar, met some people over in Ohio, met Jimmy Holscher, and we had a band called 86. And our drummer dropped out one summer. We had all these shows booked, and we didn't know what we were going to do because we had all put a lot of work into it. Our drummer dropped off, and a couple of the other guys weren't too interested in playing. Me and the singer, Jimmy Holscher, it was like, we got all these shows booked, and we're still capable of doing it. We came down here, we played acoustic guitars, and we loved the scene down here. We loved all the people. It's like this is a very friendly place, and there's so many musicians around here, and everybody just brings another element that it's truly just an amazing place to be. Like you're surrounded by a lot of very musical people. It's very inspiring. I mean, all of these guys that you see right here, we met in KT's. Me and Jimmy were doing the open mics, and that was
And
one
the
little,
stories collide.
yeah, that was one little hot spot. We're like, there were so many talented people that walked in there. Like that there's a little bar restaurant in a strip mall that like you would just never expect to meet a bunch of musicians at, but it was super cool. Started playing with Gunner about 7 years ago when I met him over there. And me and this guy, we jammed for a little while, and I got given an opportunity to play guitar for 5 Bolt Maine and a band called Forever Ouvre. So we went out on a little tour, and I definitely took that opportunity and loved every minute of it. this guy started with another band called Majority of Names that they had just great songwriting, and that they were another Sevierville act. It was just a great band. And then I stole Gunner back. And,
Kicked him in the knee. Took him.
But Gunner's been with me from the very beginning of Autumn Reflection. Over the years, we've had different lineups. We've had different ways of putting it out. Like when this band first started, we actually had a violin player, and that was the way that I saw music.
Yep.
Like
That first show, it was our first show out.
Oh yeah. That was the thing that everybody knew us for, is we had that violin player, and I've always just been a huge fan of violin music. And at one point, I almost wanted to completely drop guitar and just be a violin player. And I tried to pick up a violin, and I realized that I had really big fingers, and it doesn't exactly work out. It sounds a lot better in my head. It doesn't sound as good when I play
He has
it.
little arms on his hands.
But we found a little lady, Miss Evie Andrus, and this woman was just awesome. And she had a very, very southern aspect to her. And we were a little bit more, rock on the lower metal side, but a little bit metal. And the element that she threw over top of it, that was, I loved it so much, and I thought that was the vision for Autumn Reflection. She moved on, and she started pursuing her roots with bluegrass, and we ended up picking up Mr. Chris over here as another guitar, and instead of having a violin player. And
It's because I asked with a puppy dog face. I'm like, please,
for like a
please,
year, I was like, well,
Steve,
I'll
you
think
need
about
another
it.
guitar. You need another guitar right there, man.
This guy, he asked me for like a year, like, hey, you should let me play guitar in Autumn Reflection. And at that point, after losing our violin player, I kind of wanted to just stick to our roots, and I was very, very shy about bringing anybody else into it, because once we lost that violin player, it was very tough to reconstruct all of the music to put it back to something that sounds like a finished product. This guy asked, and he asked, and he asked, and then I ended up, kicking myself in the butt, because I did not realize what we were missing until we brought this guy into it, and the element that he adds to it, like, this guy makes it a show.
Stop it.
And then we acquired Mr. Mike Flowers, he's a beast of a bass player.
All right.
Have you guys witnessed any sexism in the scene? At all?
I don't know about that. I think that it'd be nice to see more female-fronted bands. There's very few of them. I enjoy that. Having some diversity especially in a scene. Having some. It's easy to get a bunch of bands that play all the same stuff. Sometimes that cuts through with different bands like you guys and Annandale and whatever else is coming up in the pipeline. I think there should be more of that for sure.
I haven't seen really any issues pertaining to that subject, but what I do see in this scene is there are so many people playing music around here, and this is a different scene than other places that I've been in the country. Like, there's some scenes where everybody's against each other, and like every band wants to be the best, and every band is they'll talk crap about the other bands to make themselves stand out, and they think that lifts them up. But what I see around here is like a lot of team players, and everybody's got that mutual respect. Everybody's really respectful to everybody's art that they're putting out. And I mean, you look at these guys here, like, everybody's worked with everybody around this scene. This guy's been in 3 bands in the scene. This guy's been in 2. Chris been in a whole bunch.
And all the other ones.
We all kind
Even
of
if you don't see
collectively
him on
work
stage,
together.
he's somehow in there.
That is something I was wanting to touch on too. Like, before I started playing with these guys, I've played with just a lot of people around. Like, I never really played in any bands that played out a whole lot, but there's so much talent around here. And before I started jamming with you, I was jamming with, all you guys know the Perkins brothers, Ryan Ritchie, all those guys. Extreme talent, man. I love those guys. I love playing with them, and that's kind of what's brought me here. And
Yeah, when are
I
we
mean,
gonna hear
I had-
anything on
had
that
to bring
project?
up. They're incredible, man. I mean,
I can't wait to hear
wouldn't
it.
take much. Wouldn't take
No,
much.
those guys are beasts of musicians.
Yeah.
It's a small world though, because even I used to jam with Ryan Ritchie.
Yeah, I mean, for
Like,
sure.
He was probably actually the first person I ever jammed with.
Yeah.
You know,
The community
in
around
Tennessee.
here, music community is incredible around here. Like, and it means a lot, you know. And that's what it takes as far as asking about the fans, what they can do. I mean, support it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Show the love to it, support it.
Not
and
just come for one
It's a
band and leave.
community. It really is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's a sad scene when you see that. And like, some bands have the loyal fans that only come to see them, but again, around here, I see a lot of people that are kind of on the same page. You know, people come and they stay for everybody.
as people should. I mean, if you're going to go to a show, you should go from start to finish. Well, that's always a good thing. Always have a ride home.
That stuff never happens here.
drive
What are you
drunk.
talking about?
That's our one
Responsibility.
public service
Play
announcement for the day. I got a question for you guys. Collectively or individually, where would be, and that could be anywhere in the world, where would be your ideal place to play a show?
In the world?
Anywhere in the world. I mean, I don't want to just say
Wembley and
US.
Madison Square Garden.
If
To be
my-
the pinnacle of
if my house
career
was
to
big
me.
enough, I would love to do it there because I do some killer barbecue and stuff. So that I don't have to leave the house. All the stuff can stay right there. No load in. That would be awesome. It's the load out that's really the problem because getting it there and playing is the fun part, and then packing it all up is not fun.
Your response is so much more like deep and meaningful than mine.
Well, I thought of it for about 2 seconds while you were talking.
I just went straight to big stage.
Oh, well, that's why I got in the band. Creative.
What you got, Mike?
Oh, give me a mic.
Mine would probably be Red Rocks Amphitheater in Colorado, and or the Brixton in England.
I kind of like the idea of shiprocked, like
Yeah.
being on a boat
Oh,
in
we're all
the
like, you
ocean.
should've said that.
And like, you're,
Man!
I'm just saying, like that's a pretty cool idea. Like,
Dang it.
awesome vacation. The only thing is you're stuck with everybody. So
What about playing in someplace like in Colorado or California? It seems to be a theme of
Well, the simple fact is out west, the rock scene seems to be a little bit stronger. You know, if you want to be like technical about it, but like the Midwest and Texas and it just seems to be real hot right now. I mean, they still have hard rock channels on the radio, so it's like, which it seems like everyone else does have one except for us. But I mean, like a fully dedicated, you can hear your Breaking Benjamin and all this other stuff, and I just think that, I mean, I don't know what it is out there, but I don't know if you paid attention to like the Midwest. I mean, it seems like there's good shows going on.
a lot of good shows.
At least they seem to be responsive.
if I was in a
People
band,
are
I'd want to play
responding
in
well.
Austin. It seems to be a really good music scene down there and a wide variety of different music and bands.
Nothing more just came from there.
Awesome.
Well, that area, Southwest. See, me and Mike actually have me and Mike actually have history with California. Like I grew up there. He spent a lot of his years there, and so it's funny you said that because then I'd be inclined to add Whiskey a Go-Go to my list.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, be a good one for sure.
Talking about radio stations, we do have a local radio station who plays our local jams.
That is cool. Thanks
We
to
are very
Josh.
thankful for that. Thank you, Josh.
That would be 94.3
Yeah.
WNFZ. So I think we're out of time, but we will definitely have you guys back, and we hope you guys much success in your future,
Thank you, Scott.
and we will.
You've always
much,
been a
brother.
good supporter of us, man. A lot of people, I mean,
I've got to wear the swag,
You've
I like the
always,
shirt.
ever since you first saw us, man, you gave us nothing but love. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Seriously.
We'll need a receipt for all the payments we made for that,
Yes. Thank you.
for our taxes.
All right. This has been East Tennessee Music Scene on the Rise with Autumn Reflection, Darth Nugget, and Haley. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Sevendust.